Hey Sparkleketeers, I hope you're having a good weekend. So, here's a brief update on Liana Kerzner, because she has been sore as all get out. And there's a reason for that, but we'll go into that a little bit further on. That gaslighting video is about to come out very soon, so I'm still making sure that that gets fully uploaded. But today, Liana Kerzner made this hilarious claim on her Blue Sky. In her best Karen who was told she could not bring a chihuahua to the capsule hotel voice, Liana Kerzner says, "Dear owner of Original Pursuits LLC Novelty Factor, Kiwifarms is not a reliable source, and your habit of going on that site, including posting there, is a big reason that I believe people need to be warned about you." Well, isn't that considerate of Liana Kerzner? I need to set up a few things straight here. Asher has never been a Kiwifarmer, and Asher has never posted in the way that Kerzner is implying that he has. She's implying that he has taken part in harassment campaigns. That's not true. We have monitored Kiwifarms because one of Liana Kerzner's friends and clients actually featured us on that site trying to get Asher into a harassment campaign, possibly endanger him. So just like any other person, like, say, one of Poppy's girlfriends, Sage, we monitored the site to make sure that no incoming harassment campaigns or worse were coming our way so that we could be prepared. And just to clarify, because I realized what I just said, Sage was Poppy's girlfriend at the time that she was monitoring Kiwifarms on behalf of Poppy. Sage and Poppy are no longer together. When our local stalker decided to impersonate Asher on that site to try to get him targeted because Giancarlo's campaign had kind of fizzled out, Asher immediately did post 3 times to essentially clear up the issue, and then he got banned. So Liana Kerzner is blaming the victim here. That's a very Kiwifarmer thing to do, but you know, we don't treat Kiwifarmer as a source of information. The only source of information we treat Kiwifarms as is that of harassment campaigns that are being maintained and were maintained against us in the past and other vulnerable individuals. Outside of that, nothing that gets posted on Kiwifarms should ever be treated as a reliable source or information unless you yourself verify it with reliable sources. The screenshots from Kiwifarms that we have on the documentation site that shows the evidence are there to prove several things, such as the fact that we were in fact identified the very next day from the cancellation video without us saying anything in public, not for 19 days after the cancellation video, which proves Liana Kerzner's assertions that we identified ourselves in public as false, as many things she says. But you know who treats Kiwifarms as a source of information? Well, let's go back to 2020. In this Telegram conversation from 2020, where Liana Kerzner shares that she used to be in a furry pirate RPG and that she hid in the crow's nest when sex was going on and she was able to read the descriptions of engorged pouches, this woman really needs to get a hobby. She also talks about reading articles about Foxler. Who is Foxler? Oh god, I hate the fact that I have to explain this, but Foxler is a local fur that we have had brush-ups with. He is essentially a Nazi fur. And yes, that thing exists, and you cannot understand how much it makes my soul bleed to say that. But where was Liana Kerzner reading those articles? Well, it comes up a little bit later, because you see here. Yeah, so she looked Foxler up on Kiwifarms. Who does that? Obviously someone who apparently treats Kiwifarms as a source of information. Now, that's not the only link, because you see, Liana Kerzner has been screaming like a banished boss from a 1985 platformer that we have violated client confidentiality of a client that she referred to us. That client was Giancarlo Vanzini, the author who wrote a queer novel, a young adult novel called Outcast, which was heavily influenced by outsiders, and for whom I was a creative consultant, not a peer counselor. Now, the reason we outed Giancarlo Banzini is because he turned out to be the troll known as Movie Pirate on Twitter and Shaniqua on Kiwifarms, and he participated actively in the thread targeting Poppy Diabolique and other trans individuals and other queer individuals. So this individual was a danger. He also tried to get Kiwifarms to target my husband as Shaniqua. That's what Liana Kerzner is not telling you. And as Asher has said, what Liana Kerzner doesn't tell you will hurt you. Now, the funny thing is that Liana Kerzner has completely disavowed the fact that she tolerated Giancarlo Banzini on her server. We have documentation that shows that we warned her of Giancarlo Banzini's identity as Shaniqua, that we had discovered who he was in the late summer of 2024. Yeah. Liana Kerzner didn't do jack shit about this person who was in her Discord server where there's trans and and queer individuals and non-conforming individuals, disabled and ill individuals and people at risk. She didn't do jack shit until January of 2025. And the only reason she actually confronted him was because he posted about her on Kiwifarms. I guess breaking a cardinal troll rule. Correct? I want you to notice that she apparently was okay with us doing this with Giancarlo at the time. Now she calls it harassment and stalking and all sorts of things. I guess that the only reason she's not okay with it now is because so much of the evidence also now leads back to her. It's always okay when it happens to everyone else but Liana Kerzner and her interests.
I tell them what they're doing is bothering me. I tell them why, and I ask them to please stop doing it, offering them a better alternative if I can think of one. I know, right? That is crazy. Being assertive, what? But it's good crazy. It makes it pretty clear for my own self who is worth my time and who just isn't. Now, does this rule blow up in my face? All the time, sirs and madams and everybody else, okay? People can be colossally disappointing, manipulative backstabbers. And the great thing is that as soon as I do this, if it blows up, now it's clear what they're doing. Because someone who is an adult and they meant no harm, they just say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know. Let's work this out." I have felt so much less resentment since I started laying my cards on the table like this, and I waste much less time on people who aren't worth it. Now, real talk again, this is a real talk episode. I make enemies. Oh, yeah. Doing this? Woo, yeah. But it's better to make little enemies earlier in a relationship that forget about you fairly quickly than big enemies who thought I was their friend, who become stalkers and lie constantly about me online, which is what used to happen because I was so hesitant to set boundaries because I was afraid of exactly the outcome I was helping to create by delaying, what could be an inevitable conflict. Yes, this is me taking responsibility for my part in the bad blood. I let it go on too soon. Right? Ooh, do the stalkers resent me for saying this in public? I get nastygrams telling me I deserve the Charlie Kirk treatment for saying stuff like this. But, that's some that is resentment. Peak choice burning resentment. And you know what? Better they feel it than me. That resentment, that's eating up their already blackened insides. Not mine. My soul is juicy.
So yes, she has been howling since then about us violating client confidentiality of someone that I found out to be a Kiwi farmer who was actively endangering queer and trans individuals. Why is she so invested in that being kept secret? What does privacy mean to Liana Kerzner? As a dear friend put it, she is howling like a banshee who never knew love. Of course, Liana Kerzner said that that was sexist and gingerphobic. The girl in question is a woman of Irish descent who herself is a ginger. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what a joke Liana Kerzner, especially since she recently has complained about weaponizing identities. Isn't that just grand? Notice how she talks about how the Photoshop edits are going to be hilarious. On that cesspool of villainy that is Kiwifarm's, edits of people's photos using Photoshop to show them in demeaning and insulting ways is very much a thing that happens. So Liana Kerzner by 2020 was deeply enmeshed in the Kiwifarm's culture. Not only that, but she found what they did hilarious. What else did she find hilarious? Notice how she mentions that Kiwifarms is essentially a barometer of who is vulnerable. How does she know that? So there you have it. Kiwifarmer consulting Liana Kerzner, who is also protecting a Kiwi farmer, has just accused, yet again, victims of Kiwifarm's harassments of being Kiwi farmers. Isn't that the most Kiwifarm things to do?